relationships to Reddit threads. From what the hell do you said what? It's unfiltered, uncut, yeah, that's the show. Yeah, welcome to Let's Be Real, though.
Welcome back to Let's Be Real with Brandon J. Benfield. I am, in fact, Brandon J. Benfield. You can call me Brandon. Welcome to the show. Hey, guys, I just want to say thanks for those of you who have listened to my 0 episode. Basically just kind of told you a little bit about me and my past professionally and a little bit personally. And you know, as the show progresses, I'll be talking a little bit more about my personal life, and you know, I'm fairly an open book. There's some things that I may not get too personal with, couple of things here and there, but for the most part, I pretty much live my life as an open book. So, and I'm coming to you now. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm in my comfiest, loungiest clothes because it's a Monday night and I didn't feel like getting around. I have to be in the office at my day job the next 2 days, and I'll save the shower and the jeans for that day, huh? How about that? Or those days? So basically, this is my first official episode with you. Obviously, like I said, the 0 episode was just a little bit of an intro and about me, but for the remainder here, we're pretty much going to be talking about either subject matter, interviewing somebody, or basically just kind of talking about other things. So, with that being said, today we are going to talk about movies that came out in July. July was a huge month. I know what you did this summer, and that was you saw a super fantastic Jurassic season of movies, if you will. And toward the end of the month, it was Happy, if you will, at home with Happy Gilmore 2, or maybe not Happy, depending on what you thought of the movie. So why don't we jump into it? Before I get into the July movies, I wanted to talk about a couple of movies I saw before that. Ones that I just felt were worth talking about. Now, as I said before, my wife and I have a horror review channel called The Couple That Slays Together. Katie and I, we started that early 2025. It is now it is the third quarter of 2025. So started both these shows this year. But over there, you're going to find a majority of the content is strictly horror stuff. So I know there are people who are just really into horror, and then there are others that are like, I'd rather not listen to your horror content. I'd rather you talk about other things, which was why this podcast was born, because I did have a lot more to say than just about horror movies and horror series and merch and everything. As much as I love it, obviously, I've got an entire studio full of it. That's not ever going to change. That's always going to be what's in the studio, just because our Couple That Slays Together podcast is our core podcast. But I did change up some of the lights, just give you a little behind the scenes. Our color scheme for Couple That Slays Together is more of a purple and a green, like a lime green and like a neon purple, if you will. Whereas I kind of went with the 5-0 colors, if you will. I went with a red and a blue. So I thought that would be a little bit of a fun change of pace, a little different for branding, but altogether, you're still going to see a lot of horror merchandise. I do have some non-horror merchandise in front of me that you will never see, probably, unless we end up moving and getting a new studio. I do have a lot of Power Ranger sets. I've got them all, the ones that they put out on DVD. I've got a lot of Ninja Turtle ones. I've got Super Sentai ones, which, if you're not sure, Super Sentai is the original Japanese footage where Power Rangers gets a lot of their stock footage. So I've got a few seasons from that. And then I've got my Smallville DVDs over there. Love Smallville. Love it to death. You know, I would almost have it with my horror stuff with Supernatural if I could, but it's not a horror show. It's a Superman show. And I'm sure one of these days we'll talk about Smallville, because I'm a huge Smallville fan. I'm a huge Talkville fan. Actually, to be honest with you, Michael Rosenbaum is kind of my podcast inspiration, if you will, because our Couple That Slays Together podcast is almost a rewatch podcast, kind of like Talkville. And in this podcast, I kind of want it to be more of like the therapeutic, hey, let's just talk about life and anything that goes, kind of like his Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum podcast. So I'm not going to sit there and say I plagiarized it, but you know, I think the formula that he has just really works for what I want to do. I don't think you'll find that it's the same. I really don't feel like it's the same because, well, he usually has somebody on it every week, and me, it might just have me talking to you. So, but and we just talk strictly about horror, and they talk about Smallville. So, but anyway, I told you there'd be tangents in this podcast, so I apologize. But yeah, and then over there, I've got my autograph books, not just from horror, but I've got my Power Rangers autographs, Turtles. I got some Disney stuff, some DC and Smallville stuff. So, I've got a little bit of everything over there. So, all right, but again, jumping into it. So the first, I want to talk about everything that I got to see in July and a little bit around there. So, the first movie I saw was before it came out, June 27th. But that was Megan 2.0. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but looking at it on the iPad here now. Megan 2.0, if you didn't already know, I was my friend Tom Turner and I, a really good friend of mine. I would say the most I've ever traveled with somebody in my entire life would be my really good friend Tom Turner, one of my best friends. I know I throw the term best friend out there a lot, but I really feel like I've got different sects and categories of friends. Like I've got my core group of friends. Like my two best friends are Alex Lee and Mike Davis. But then I have Chris Coder that I grew up with. Those three guys are kind of like my best friends. But then I've got Jeff, Josh, and Day Day who are in my friend group who are also three of my best friends. And then I've got my two best friends from the Power Ranger universe. You got Tom Turner and Quentin Bales. I love those guys. I trust them with my life. I've got my best friends from old work places, like Mike Perez and Raven Lozier and Steve Ashby. And I've got my best friends from, Connecticut, Kinetic Advantage, Candace Penn. We love Candace, my wife and I. So there are several groups of best friends that I feel like I have. Some that, have experienced different parts of who I am. Again, another tangent, and I apologize. But anyway, so my really good friend, one of my best friends, Tom Turner, and I, we have traveled to several cities together. California several times, New York once or twice. I can't remember. I think once. Florida several times. I mean, he's just one of my travel buddies. But really cool place that we've been twice now, and hopefully going a third in January of 2026, is New Zealand. We've been to Auckland, New Zealand, and got to experience some really cool things there. One of the things we got to experience was our buddy Mike Edward, who played Dane Romero, Brody Romero's dad, in Power Rangers Ninja Steel. He was the Red Ranger's father, who also became a Red Ranger himself in one of the episodes, and we consider him a Ranger because he morphed. So a good buddy of mine and Tom's, he got us on set for Megan 2.0. That was really awesome. We got to see that entire third act, basically where you see, well, not the entire act, but basically the scene. If you've seen the movie, it's where Allison is being basically controlled by the the neurochip thing that the company made, and Megan, who is a good guy in this film, which I'll get into that in a little bit. But Megan basically has control of her body while she's knocked out, and she's limp, and she's fighting all the security guards. We got to see that live. That was pretty awesome. We got to see the shot where Megan's putting her hand on the little cue card thing, or the keypad thing, and opening the door or whatever. It was really funny because if you go back and watch that part of the movie, it took them probably 20 takes to get that right, and they still didn't. The hand is not completely on the board there. So it's really funny to see that. But at some point I'll have to show pictures of that. I mean, I posted pictures and videos on my personal Facebook. I'll have to throw them up on my on this podcast's Instagram and Facebook and such. But anyway, so getting to this movie. So Megan 2.0 basically takes place, oh man, it seems like it's 3 or 4 years, maybe even more after the first one, maybe even 2 years. But basically, Allison Williams' character Gemma and Violet McGraw's character Katie, they are basically living in a house now. Works out of her house. They have a different house. It's a very smart house. And she's trying to work after the experiences she had with Megan. She's basically on this anti AI, basically trend, or I wouldn't say trend, but this voyage, if you will, of trying to regulate, like hardcore regulate AI, like almost make it extinct, but basically take it back a couple notches because in her world, Megan was violent and ended up a problem. So, but we find out this entire time that Megan has been keeping watch over them because her primary objective, like her data, still survived, and her primary objective was still to keep Katie safe. And basically, yeah, there was a guy in the first one who you see him stealing files from Funky, the company that was making the Megan doll. He was selling them to somebody else. This somebody else was a government or like another company or something. Yeah, they were like a government that was working with the UN that basically creates another AI. And but they find out that it doesn't have like its own like like own chip or something in her head. So she's basically like controllable. Like she doesn't have like a self-aware, continue to growing AI. And so then that's when you find out that Alistair, I can't remember his last name, but he was on one season of SNL. A sidebar about him. He seemed like a really cool guy, but wasn't great on SNL. He never really did anything that was like I remember watching him on a Saturday Night Live, and I'm like, this dude ain't gonna make it a year, and he didn't. And again, not putting any hate toward him because he actually was a pretty good actor, really good as like the kind of snide. You find out he's like the villain. He was dating Gemma for a while, and then find out at the end of the movie that he's the bad guy. So, by the way, now that I've said that, I forgot to say at the beginning of this, all these movies I'm going to talk about are going to be full of spoilers. I'm not holding back. I'm talking about the movies. I've seen them. Don't watch this if you haven't seen any of these movies, or fast forward through what I'm about to talk about. I've got like 7 movies I'm going to talk about here, so just letting you know that it's going to be full of spoilers. So anyway, I struggle with this one because, I know it didn't do very well at the box office. It didn't, I think it made globally 50 million, and that might be pushing it, which is pretty bad. And I don't really know if it's because I was really excited for it, and I know that I get excited about things that other people don't get excited about. Like the next Marvel movie, I'm not excited for. Like I never really am. Like it's just kind of when it comes to Marvel movies, again, that's another tangent, but I feel like when it gets to Marvel movies, we've gotten as a society so spoiled with, I mean, do you remember back in like the year 2000, 2002, whenever it was, like even like 99, when we were like, man, it'd be so cool to have live action superhero movies, just if we could have anything. And what was the first thing we got? It was either Spider-Man or X-Men. I think it was X-Men. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's gonna be people like, no, it's Spider-Man, you dipshit. But either way, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I know those two came out. I feel like X-Men was first. I might even be wrong on the year. It might have even been late 90s. I can't remember. But the point I'm trying to make is, do you remember when Marvel movies said things like when Wolverine looks over at somebody and says, what would you prefer? Yellow spandex? And it's like, yes, motherfucker, we would prefer that over black. To now cut to 2025 to where it's like, oh, Spider-Man's suit is so not the right shade of red. I demand a different shade of red. That needs to be the same. Now, that spider has one leg shorter than the other, and I think they should have made it comic book accurate. I say these things mocking people to say this, but I'm a dick that says that kind of shit too. I understand where you're coming from, but I do kind of feel like we have gotten very spoiled in the last 25 years for our superhero movies, to the point where we're nitpicking costumes. Granted, Deadpool and Wolverine was amazing. We finally get Wolverine in his yellow suit with the cowl, and it was just like, holy shit, fans were like, fucking finally. But, I don't know. For some reason, I had superhero fatigue for a long time. I'm coming out of it because of Superman. Superman is always the one who always reinvigorates superhero stuff for me, and I'll get to that movie in a little bit. But anyway, so wrapping up with Megan 2.0, I struggled with this movie because, yes, it was okay. So the pacing of the film was a little clunky. Okay. I wish there could have been a little bit of in between of, hey, what's this recovery period look like from the events of the first Megan until now? They kind of really just hurried that shit up a little bit. Like Violet was already like, I don't know, like she was really good at judo or something at that point. It's like, okay, it would have been kind of cool to see like a little bit of a flash of what happened. I don't know. But altogether, like, and again, okay, I get people were upset. They're like, oh, this isn't horror anymore. Like Megan is like, no, well, this is like fucking sci-fi and like this is bullshit. Like this is a shitty movie because of that. It's like, well, think about it though. Megan in itself was a PG-13 movie to where she only killed 4 people and a dog, which, kind of sucked. They didn't show the dog dying, but he did. Uh, and the deaths weren't necessarily all that brutal. I would say the worst one was probably the Brandon kid that she bit his ear off of and pushed him down a hill, or he fell down a hill or something and he got run over by a truck. I think that's what happened to the kid, but that one was a kind of brutal. But other than that, like, yeah, I mean, it was a PG-13 movie already as it is. So like the expectation of her being this new, like continuing this horror icon, I mean, I understand it, trust me, but they did go the Terminator route. They went when, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I mean, the first Terminator is basically essentially a horror movie as well. I think if you even look at it, it's under the horror genre. And then you go to T2, which is regarded as like one of the best, if not the best sequel of all time, other than Aliens or something else, that, it went the Terminator route in the fact that now, okay, we've got a T-800 or whatever that's a good guy, and it's like, well, who the fuck's he going to be fighting? Oh, another robot that's a T-1000 that can be liquefied. It's kind of the same thing. Like, they took an android, they made her a good guy, or like, she wanted to protect them. Katie was still her number one objective, much like John Connor was to this Terminator because he, kidnapped one or whatever. Hmm. So, I mean, knowing that they went with that narrative, like, it didn't necessarily bother me. Like, I don't know, it still felt like Megan to me. Like, it was still entertaining, it was still funny. So, and again, I'm trying not to be biased because I did get the set visit like that. I mean, it was so cool being in that warehouse because it's like when you're there, like looking straight and looking left to your right, it's like you're really in the story. Like you have become a character in this movie. But then when you look up, you're like, oh shit, yeah, this is just like a warehouse and like there isn't really that much going on. So it's like taking away that experience, I gave this movie a B. I feel like a B is still a fair grade to where, yes, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't great. Yeah, I'm going to rate these movies, with our rating system. We do the Slays rating system. I guess here I'll call it the real rating system. Yeah, we'll do the real rating system on this podcast. So real rating for this one, I gave it a B. I feel like a B is fair still. Gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, 7.5 is fair, and I say 3 out of 5 stars for me on this one. So I wasn't perfect. I get where people were upset with it. And by the way, when I grade things, I don't necessarily math doesn't necessarily math when it comes to the rating scale, because I kind of feel like the grade scale, number scale, and star scale is kind of all on their own. I get that 7.5 out of 10 is technically a 75%, which is technically a C plus, but I didn't necessarily feel like it was a C, but I did kind of feel like a 7 out of 10. I know, logic out the window, but hey, this is my show, so get out of here. but anyway, again, I feel like a B is fair for a grade. I feel like 7.5 out of 10 is fair, and then I feel like 3 out of 5 stars is fair because, again, I did still enjoy this movie. It does have replay. Oh, and that's another rating we have here, the replay value system. It does have replay value for me. I would actually probably watch this over and over again still. I think it was still worth watching, replay value wise. So I give it a will watch repeatedly on that. Out of the scale of will watch repeatedly, likely to watch again, neutral on whether I'll watch it again, probably not going to watch it again, and I will never watch this piece of shit again. So that's definitely not what I'm I'm going to give it the grade of will watch again. So so that was that for Megan 2.0. I did go a little crazy on the popcorn buckets. I'll drop a couple of pictures right here. I just gave myself some work. But I went a little nuts with the popcorn buckets because, and I did get the movie posters as well, like the 27 by 40. There was 2 versions. I got them both from the theater. Sidebar, pro tip, if there's ever a movie that you're obsessed with, that it's like your favorite movie and you've got to have the poster, Regal Cinemas, they offer them to their employees first, but then if they don't, which 9 times out of 10 they won't necessarily take them, or they'll have like 3 or 4, you can get a poster from them, and like no problem. You just got to put your name and number down to reserve it. So, anyway, all that to say, Mega 2.0, good movie, despite what the ratings were. The popcorn bucket thingy or whatever, the audience score I think was still like at 83% for an audience score. So, I really enjoyed the movie. I can't talk a lot of shit about it. So I think it was. I still good, and honestly, I think this would be a decent middle story. Like if they had a third one where something goes wrong with her programming and Megan is like evil again in the third one like they wanted, like yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? I think for them having to do that and having this one where she's a good guy ally is fine too. And plus it gave Gemma, and this was more of a Gemma and Megan story as opposed to a Katie and Megan story like the first one was. So I thought that was neat too. But anyway, moving on. So our next movie that I wanted to talk about that isn't necessarily a July movie, but it looks like it came out early June. But Katie and I watched this at home, and my God, this movie was fantastic. I was not expecting this movie to be that good. Dangerous Animals. That movie. It's another horror movie. It's a horror. I would say it's light horror. This is more of like your what I like to call your basic bitch horror. And when I what I call basic bitch horror is it's like you could watch this with your sister or your mom and they wouldn't be like, you're stuck. Like this is still to the point where I feel like you could, watch this with somebody who's not really into horror movies. Like I say basic bitch horror because you see the girls on Facebook and Twitter and I don't know, people don't say Twitter anymore, but Facebook and Instagram all the time. They're like, spooky season's coming up. I'm like, spooky season. I cannot wait to have pumpkin spice lattes and whatever. And I know I promised in my intro so that I would not make fun of people. I'm not making fun. I promise. I promise I'm not. I have no hate. I love everybody. I have no hate toward you, but come on, you got to know that there's like that stigma of let's get pumpkin spice lattes or whatever, hot cocoa, and watch a scary movie, and then like the scary movie is like Hocus Pocus or fucking a true crime documentary or something. You know what I mean? Like I say that because they're not as sick as I am. Like I am more into the shittier and gorier horror movies. So again, it's not me throwing shade. You can throw shade at me all you want because I know I am a sick, disgusting person when it comes to the horror movies. But anyway, so getting to this one is more of what I like to call a basic bitch horror movie where it's not. It's okay. So the plot is this girl is really into surfing, and she's really into the ocean and water and everything. And then there is a guy that she meets and who's really nice to her and such. They end up sleeping together, and then she's like, I gotta get up early, I gotta go surfing. And he's like, can I come with you? And she's like, yeah, sure, do this and that or whatever. So, or she doesn't say sure, but she kind of like leaves it open for him to be invited. And so then before that, you see this guy, Jai Courtney plays him. He's this guy who's like kidnapping women and kidnapping, he like turning on a video camera and then like dangling them over sharks. He'll put like chum and blood and shit in the water and then watch them like be tortured and everything, and feeds them to sharks. And he, like I said, he kind of gets his rocks off by it. And you see on his boat later on that he's got several tapes with victims' hair like stuck on the tape, and they're just his victims basically. So he kidnaps the main girl when she gets to the ocean or the beach, and the guy goes kind of looking for her and such. And she's kidnapped the entire time, and there's already another girl that he's kidnapped from like his previous venture. The girl watched her boyfriend die, and then now basically the main character is going to watch this girl die. Watches her gets eaten by the sharks at night. He always takes his boat out at night, and then he's got his boat ready to go, and he already got like a victim ready to go and everything. So takes her out on the boat. Wants to watch her get eaten and everything. Somehow, some way, the boyfriend figures out everything like really quick. I mean, I was like, okay, that was what I call a luck of plot moment where he just like. He like looks at a security camera, sees a fucking truck drive by. He's like, oh, that truck looks like the boat. And then goes to wherever like is on that sign, goes and finds that specific boat because the chick that he kidnaps like ends up figuring out something. I can't remember. She like, oh, I think she like, oh, that's what it is. She breaks his video camera, and he needs a new video camera because it's like, it's where he gets his jolly. So she breaks his video camera. He goes to shore to get a new video camera, and then conveniently, again, this is when the guy, like, everything worked out in this dude's favor. Like, he fucking sees the truck at the right point. He goes to the ship drop off at the right time when he's coming back to get a camera. Fucking goes on the boat and then like looks through the boat and sees, oh, here's my girl that I've only known for a day, and finds her or whatever. And I think it was longer than a day. It was probably a week, but still, like, he knew she was missing because she dropped a surfboard or a bike or something. I can't remember. It's been a couple weeks since I've watched it, but all that to say, so then, he goes out. So they go out on the boat, or he's out on the boat or whatever. He's on the boat with them now because the guy gets a video camera, takes off, guy's there, they fight, whatever, blah, blah. And then he goes to drop the dude in the water, and then he somehow survives it, gets back on the boat, and then the chick gets out there. She's able to kind of like fight off the shark for a minute, kicks the shark in the nose, but then when she's underwater, she sees that the shark, like the main shark that keeps coming back for the food, has a huge ass couple of scars on her face, and it's like, oh, this asshole's been abusing the sharks too. So like, it's so weird. It's so like a plot, but like she gets this guy to, like, I don't know, she's able to turn it around to where she gets Jai Courtney, the killer, out on like because it's like on a crane thing. Like, he gets him on a crane and drops him in the water, and then like the sharks swim around or whatever. But so then she's able to get the dude out there, and then fucking like the shark is like, raw, eats him. It's a whole justice. It's a whole thing. So, really good fucking movies. As much as it sounds like I was dogging on it, but like I actually didn't hate it. Like my rating system for this one, I would give this movie probably an A minus, probably an 8 out of 10, and then like yeah, I'll go 4 out of 5 stars because it was a decent movie. I was pleasantly surprised actually how good it was. And I still probably enjoyed Megan a little more just because I was on the set and everything, but I liked this one a lot. Now, replay value wise, it's okay. This is one I'm neutral on. I could watch it again or probably go without. Because it didn't have like the impact of, oh my God, I got to watch this over and over again, like a Ninja Turtle movie or like a Scream or a Friday the 13th or something that I'm always watching. So it's not one that I'm going to put on all the time, but it was one that I suggest and recommend. And it's a solid, at least one watcher, if not maybe like a once annual or a once every other. So, just take that for what it is. Again, more of a basic bitch horror movie. If you're not into the hardcore horror shit like Terrifier or, The Hills Have Eyes or fucking even Scream or Friday the 13th, a lot of people think that's gory. Hell, I went to Abigail last year. I didn't think that was, my wife and I didn't think that was that gory. And then I took friends who aren't into horror and they were like about sick. So I never know the gauge of what's too much and what's too little when it comes to people who aren't into horror. So when I think about this, I would say it's more out of a scale of like, say, 1 to 5, 1, 0 to 1, you're not really into it. 5, or 0 to 1, it's not really that big a deal. And then like 5, it's like you're puking your guts out. I would say Abigail and like, the other ones I mentioned, they're probably up there at a 5, whereas this one's probably more of a 1.5, a 2. Because like I said, there is a little bit of domestic violence in it as well. But, people are kind of into that. Like, like I know a lot of people are into like the softer horror movies that are more, or the softer things that are more like true crime documentaries. There's still some violence in those, or whatever. So this fits more like with that, or like a suspense, like The Fanatic with John Travolta. I cannot recommend that movie enough, by the way. I love that movie so much. But anyway, so there was that one. So now why don't we move on to the actual July theatrical films? The first one that I want to talk about here is The Disgrace. I'm not high bearing the lead. The Disgrace, I felt that was Jurassic World. Now, already, I got something to bitch about. If you can't tell, I mean, if you've seen this poster, and I'll put a better version up, this poster is just fucking ridiculous, in my opinion. Like, you've got Scarlett Johansson that's bigger than the damn T-Rex. Oh my gosh. Get out of here, for one thing. Now, I love ScarJo. ScarJo's funny. She's awesome. Love Colin, her husband. He's great. Big SNL fan, like I've said. But, for me, okay, so let's start with the plot, shall we? The plot to this movie, in and of itself, was just ridiculous, in my opinion. Like, I just want to know, like, in the writer's room, how did they throw that dart? And that's what they were able to land on for their story, because what the fuck? Basically, the plot of this movie is the fact that dinosaurs have had enough of our shit, and dinosaurs are not fascinating to humans anymore in this movie, and dinosaurs are basically, they can't handle the living conditions that are humans. Like, they can't take the pollution and the big city life, and so many of them have retreated to and or live around it's 17 years after Dominion and the last film. And so now most of them are either living or traveling to, if they can, to the 3 islands that surround the equator. And it's completely illegal for the United Nations have said humans as a whole, the human race, it's illegal for them to go to this area of the earth. They are not allowed to go on these islands that are near the equator, these 3 islands, because they're, with dinosaurs. It's like, hey, keep them there. And so, of course, what's any formula for Jurassic Park? They want to go there. So basically, the lead scientist, if you will, of this film has basically determined somehow that the cure for heart disease, I shit you not, the cure for heart disease is found in the 3 largest dinosaurs or animals or whatever in the world. One is the Mosasaurus, so by sea. One is the Titanosaurus, which is on land, and whatever the big giant pterodactyl's name is, the Condor, whatever the fuck, that one. So, like, they conveniently need samples from air, land, and sea. How convenient. So basically, they've talked to Scarlett Johansson. Now, I love Scarlett Johansson so much, but she is, like, overly excited in this movie all the time, and it's like a little bit of a weird dynamic and weird, like, character choice. But anyway, so they're going to these islands and they're tracking the Mosasaurus, and all of a sudden they figure out there's this distress call. Now, this fucking family, I swear to God, this family, it's a dad, his 2 daughters, and then the one daughter's boyfriend, who is supposed to be the comic relief. And they're on a sailboat in the middle of the ocean. They're sailing from one area to the other because it's their daughter's, like, going off to college, and this is like their last big hurrah as a family. So they thought it was smart to go fucking sailing 20 kilometers or something away from where these dinosaurs are on the islands. I think it was like 27 kilometers or something like that, because they were talking about, they're 27 kilometers back north or whatever, and there's a mosasaur there. We could get the sample from that one, and they thought they were headed toward another mosasaur, but then they were going to that one. So they go to rescue this family, which, sidebar, like, this fucking family, nobody is worth even, like, none of them are worth even saving, in my opinion. Like, they're just the story, that B story of the film that you just don't give a shit about. And they're just that annoying family that's always there. So they go save the family. Of course, the boat gets, like, rocked by the mosasaur and everything, but they're able to shoot it and get the freaking sample, and, like, it shoots back out of the dinosaur, and then they have to catch it, like, conveniently catch it. So then they fucking go to the island, but of course they get to the island and the mosasaur has either followed them there or it's a different mosasaur. I'm not sure. But then Spinosauruses are more accurate now. They're not like you saw them in Jurassic Park 3. They're a little smaller. They have like a big arch, like, in their spine, and then they can swim now, apparently. So, I mean, I guess that's something we learned. I do think it's neat when Jurassic Park does, like, put real elements of, like, dinosaur shit in there, like raptors. We got to see, like, almost like a historically accurate raptor in the last one. That was neat. So, and I think we did this one too, but I can't remember. Anyway, so, then, yeah, so they've got the family. The fucking family gets, once they're on the island, they get disconnected from these people, like the main people, like ScarJo and then Jonathan Bailey and whoever the doctor is, and then Cottonmouth from fucking Daredevil. All these people are traveling together, and so they're on the island. They get the sample from, they go to like this field, and all the titanosaurs are there, and it's a beautiful moment, and blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, cool. We have to kind of assume how they're mating. I guess they're mating, but like, I don't know, it's just they're kind of doing the Land Before Time mating, where it's like you see the heads like wrapping around each other, and like, oh, I love you, and I love you too, and whatever. And then there's this big scene up where the pterodactyls. Oh, and then the beginning of the movie was showing an experiment gone wrong, that a fucking Reese's wrapper or some shit, a candy wrapper, can destroy an entire fucking island's warehouse of shit, because they're experimenting on something called the D-Rex. I shit you not, it's a D-Rex, and a candy bar slips into like the system, like wrapper, and it just fucks the entire thing up, and it ends up like shutting it down. Like all these people die because of a fucking candy bar wrapper. Well, so it gets to like the end of the movie, and they're trying to get to like this tower to radio in. Now, again, by the way, the family has all separated from these people, and this is like where the T-Rex gets his exposure. Like they're on like a river, and the girl, like you see it in the trailer, like she's opening a raft. Like she finds a raft that's like super loud, and the T-Rex is like on the ground sleeping. And so it's like, what the fuck are you doing, dumbass? Like, I hope that T-Rex rips you apart. Like that's what you're hoping for. It never happens. Like this family, again, they're making so many stupid decisions to where it's like, just get eaten. Like figure out you ever just watch a movie and someone's doing something so stupid, or they're just so annoying that you're like, I cannot wait to see how creatively they die. None of these people fucking bite it. They don't get eaten. They don't get shit done to them. But they're the ones that get to live and make the dumbest fucking decisions ever. Anyway, so they get through it or whatever, and like they end up meeting back up with the doctors and everything, and ScarJo and everybody, and then it's like this big ass motherfucking like D-Rex is out there, and he's got like big ass arms with like two more little T-Rex arms, and he looks like a mix between Nemesis from Resident Evil and a xenomorph from Alien. That's what he looks like. He looks like a mix between them. So I don't know, man. Like this movie was a huge miss for me. They get off the island, whatever, which is dumb because like at the end, like they all get away in like a raft, and it's like and it's at night, and it's like, isn't this where the fucking mosasaur and the Spinosaurus all were? Like, how the fuck are you guys gonna get out of here alive? And it makes no sense. But of course, just like at the end of like the first one or the second one, I can't remember, it was like pterodactyls are just flying free or whatever, and it's like, what about them? I don't know. That's Jurassic Park for you. But anyway, so altogether, man, this movie got a big fat like. Okay, I got to think about this. So I gave this movie a D-. I'm not gonna lie, because it just wasn't great. Like, I don't know. Like, again, the story didn't make any sense. It just wasn't for me. I know there are people. Now, here's what I'll say. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Now, here's why I gave it a 5 out of 10, because the dino action, regardless of how shitty this movie was, the dino action was still fun. Like, my heart was still beating when the T-Rex was chasing him down the river. When they were trying to get away from the mosasaur and the Spinosaurus is in the water. Hey, still kind of freaked me out a little bit. With everything that we got to see with the dino action, it was still awesome. Like, I still liked seeing the dinosaurs. Like, that didn't bother me at all. But with this, like, the story was just shit. Like, the characters, the human aspect of it sucked. So, yeah, I gave it a D, D-, probably a 5 out of 10, and then, like, 1 star out of 5. Like, just pretty bad. Now, having said that, I will often go back through the Jurassic World series, or the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. So, as much as I hated this fucking movie, I'm probably going to say I'm likely to watch it again on the replay value scale, because this is a huge franchise, and I rewatch franchises all the time. So, good and the bad, I still watch the shit ones. So I'm gonna say I'm likely to watch this again. Moving on. Our next movie, now this movie I absolutely fucking loved was Superman. Superman 2025. Let's talk about Superman. So Superman, um, right out of the jump, I don't think I would have started a movie like this, but at the same time, hmm, at the same time, it was really nice to see something different. Now, I saw people, the way that they are comparing Superman to this, they were saying this felt like they were watching season 11 of Smallville. And I thought that was the perfect way to describe this movie because they, with this Superman movie, they didn't make him like this god, like Returns and, Cavill Superman. Now, I'm not one of those people that I'm stuck on like a universe. Like a lot of people are like, fuck Corn of Sweat, fuck Gunn and all his James Gunn and all he's doing for this. Snyder never got his shot. Ben Affleck never got to be a Batman in a solo movie, which that does suck. And Cavill's my Superman. Cavill's the true Superman, this and that. And it's like, again, this is where I can take myself out of a situation, whether it be political, religious, to where I've got to just say, hey, look, I'm not opposed on either side, and I'm also not for every side either. I'm not completely for or completely against one side or the other. And I felt the same way about Superman. It's like I can take a step back and say, okay, this is where, the Cavill Superman universe, like the DCEU, that was very much a 2010 era thing. In 2000s, the early 2000s, we had Tom Welling and Brandon Routh as our Superman. The 90s, it was Dean Cain. It was, Superman in the 80s was Chris Reeve. We had George Reeves in the 50s. I'm able to take a step back and say, okay, this is just a new incarnation. And, the nice thing about this movie is it was not a Superman origin story. We've seen that story enough. Now, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but what I really liked about Fantastic Four was that you still got to see what happened to them, but it was only for 5 minutes, not even. And I wish we would have kind of had that a little bit for Smallville. For Superman, and we didn't. And I'm okay with it, but it would have just been nice to see it a little bit. And we did get that in the movie. We got it a different way. We got to see home videos and pictures of him as a kid with Ma and Pa Kent, which that was a nice thing about this movie. Ma and Pa Kent what was nice about the Superman movie in itself was it had a little bit of something I felt like sprinkled in from each era of Superman. We had Luthor Corp from Smallville. We had, there were a lot of qualities about Lex that came from Rosenbaum's Lex. We had Ma and Pa Kent, which in a lot of Superman stories, we don't get them together. We either get them, we had them in Smallville, but Jonathan died of a heart attack. We get Pa Kent dying, or Jonathan Kent dying at the beginning of Superman the movie. We get him dying, kind of toward the mid-beginning of Man of Steel. But, we've only really ever gotten to enjoy Old Man Pa Kent in Lois and Clark, the 90s series. So it was really nice to actually see Ma and Pa Kent, not only alive, but they were older. Pa Kent, or Jonathan Kent, was fat, older fat guy. And Ma Kent was kind of like this hunched over grandma type of, so they were kind of like your homespun, if you will, Ma and Pa Kent, which is cool. They didn't go too hardcore with Jor-El and Lara, his Kryptonian parents. It was neat to see Bradley Cooper as his father, and I wasn't familiar with the actress that played the mom, but, I didn't mind seeing that. It was a little bit, so it didn't bother me as much because, yeah, Jor-El can be kind of a forceful but helpful father. But this was kind of early day Smallville for Pa Kent, for Jor-El. Where you kind of felt like he was sending Superman to or Clark Kent or Kal-El to Earth to rule. And he chose not to take that path. He chose to take the path of how the Kents raised him. And that I thought that was fine. With both sets of parents, how they did it, I thought it was great. Um, they also started this movie. So they started this movie with Superman being in battle. So he was already fighting something or someone. You basically see his ass kicked see him getting his ass kicked when the movie starts. So it's literally that scene in the trailer where he bop hits the snow and Crypto has to bolt in to save his ass and then takes him back to the fortress. That's the opening scene. Now again, I don't know if I would have opened the movie like that. It was a little choppy, but at the same time, it worked for what we got. So I didn't take points off for it. It just, would I have started the movie off that day? If that was it. Would I have started the movie off if I were making it that way? Probably not. So, but again, it was still pretty good. Still didn't hate it. This movie, every character in this movie, I felt like they were playing their part and they were playing it to the maximum perfection that they could. And in a good way. Lois Lane, she was amazing. The way that she was played, I'm blanking on the actress's name right now. I hate that I am. But they did their chemistry. Her and David Corenswet Superman was amazing. Corenswet Superman. Let's talk about that for a minute. So he really just, I mean, it's hard because you want to keep it to the movie, but my God, watching David in press interviews and watching him now, it's been kind of funny because he has a buzzed haircut right now, and maybe it's for a role, maybe he likes his hair like that, I'm not sure. But seeing him in press and seeing how he's talking to people in interviews and how just fucking heartwarming and charming he is, I'm like, yeah, this is why he was cast as Superman. I mean, this guy is like the most humble, appreciative guy and just really awesome. Like his first Tonight Show interview, like his first late night interview was for this movie. And I thought that was crazy because he was in Twisters and he really did a good job playing the asshole in that movie. But he was a really cool, kind, just heartwarming, I mean, they picked the right guy for Superman. I'm not going to lie. So I don't think I could have seen Nicholas Hoult as Superman in this. I really don't. And I know he was up for the role. Now, obviously as well, they did also do, they had Lex, Nicholas Hoult playing Lex. Now, he was the one that I was very nervous about because, on my first date with Katie we were seeing a movie called, oh my God, why can I not remember the name of that movie? He was a zombie. Shit, I'm going to kick myself for this. I gotta look it up now. But anyway, Nicholas Holt's first movie that I saw with my wife, that was the first movie she and I ever saw. But I was used to him either being that zombie, Warm Bodies, that's what it's called. He's done Mad Max, and he's done, we know him as Beast from X-Men, so that already too, he's already been in a comic book movie. He's already been a comic book character, a very well-known one. So it's like, how the hell is he going to do as Lex Luthor? And he knocked it out of the fucking park. I swear to God, he's probably the third best Lex to ever exist after Rosenbaum and Gene Hackman. But I would almost put him at number 2. And I hate to say it, because Hackman played the role very Hackman. I mean, yeah, we didn't have really that much of a Lex Luthor. We had I want to say he was in the George Reeves show only for like a couple episodes, but Hackman was kind of the only Lex, the live action Lex at the time. And he did a really good job in the Superman films, but he still played it very Hackman-like. It's just Hackman, the way that Hackman is Hackman, he's almost like a Lex. So, but we got used to that, and it's still great. I don't ever want to take anything away from Hackman being Lex. He's amazing. But, Holt just brought a whole new kind of anger and a whole new kind of, horribleness to Lex, in this film. And really just did such a great job with like manipulating people and just, again, playing the role. He was so good. It's so amazing in this film. And then you've got the Justice Gang, which I thought was an interesting choice of calling them Justice Gang. But, we see like Metamorpho and those guys talking about renaming it. But the members that they had, it was, obviously he was already established a little bit. Superman, Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Metamorpho. They kind of make up the Justice Gang in this film. Now, Mr. Terrific stole the fucking show. Him, Crypto, and Lex, I feel like that were my top 3 favorite characters outside of Superman. Now, Mr. Terrific, we've only really gotten 2 other times. We've gotten him in Arrow, and this isn't me knocking it. I've told you guys before, completely supportive of the LGBT community. But when you're trying to introduce a character that people have been wanting to see in live action on a TV series, it's hard because, they're going to try to develop that character more and not necessarily the powers of that hero. So they really kind of showed you more of his relationship, and kind of they were, they gave that character more of like an LGBTQ community icon to look up to. And again, nothing wrong with that, but we just didn't get the full strength and true Mr. Terrific that we're used to. Not saying that Mr. Terrific isn't gay in other media, he could be, but I'm saying like I'm referring to like his powers, his suit, everything, his intellect, because he is like a level 12 intellect, which is like the highest I think he could be, or it's up there. He's one of the more higher intellect people. Now, in Justice League Unlimited, the cartoon series that was about Justice League and everything, different Justice League members, he was pretty much more just the man in the chair, directing people where to go. I mean, if you watch the finale of that series, really that's when Mr. Terrific shines, and the only time Mr. Terrific shines is in the Watchtower in space, telling everybody what to do. So he wasn't on the ground fighting. You only really saw him on comms. So for Mr. Terrific not only to being in action in this film, but also getting just a really big spotlight, he almost took the Batman character, if you will. He was kind of like his, wingman to Superman. Like he was like more on Superman. He fought more with Superman than any of the other Justice League gang did. So I fucking loved Mr. Terrific in this movie. I thought he was so awesome. And dude, this guy deserves his own solo movie. I want to see everything about him. He was great. Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern Guy Gardner. A lot of people were excited about that. I was excited about it too, and I think it held up. I would have, I know the bowl cut is a comic book thing, which is cool, but at the same time, also in the comics, he's also kind of got this crazy off to the side, like, faux hawk thing too, and I would have almost rather seen that, but it's, again, very little picky things like I was just telling you. Like, I just did it. I told you guys I did it too. That, I would have almost preferred that haircut. But the fact that we got live action Guy Gardner at all, fucking awesome. And apparently he's going to be in the Green Lantern show. He said in the news that he's sworn more on there than he ever in his film career combined. So that's going to be funny. I'm really looking forward to that series. Everyone that they've casted so far, I've been excited about, especially the actor playing Hal Jordan. I think that guy's perfect. The guy from Godzilla. I know he's one of those actors that's that one guy from that one thing, and I'm forgetting his name, but yeah, that guy. But anyway, so again, let me go back to David Corenswet for a minute. He also was a great Clark Kent. Now, we didn't have a lot of Clark Kent in this movie. I would have loved to have seen Clark in this movie more, but because Superman and Lois, or Clark and Lois already knows that Clark is Superman in this film, it makes more sense that he's more Superman because he doesn't have to hide behind Clark Kent because Lois already knows who he is. But he is in it a little bit. Did a great job as Clark Kent. Honestly, really did a good job with the glasses and the hair. I'm sure he just has to do this really fast, and it's messy like he did it. But all in all, really good story. A lot of people cried woke for this, and I'm not. I can spot a quote unquote cry woke movie, and honestly, that wasn't what this was. I really didn't feel like it was that. It was reminiscent. It felt like current times because there's obviously multiple countries at war right now, and I'm not going to get into that, but this movie was shot a year ago or 2 years ago or however long it was, when there wasn't a lot of war going on or when it was just ramping up or whatever. And so I feel like you can't really say, oh, it's woke because of what's going on today in reality and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, fuck you, shut up. It's not. It works for this story that we're watching, not for the story that's out here in real life. It has nothing to fucking do with it, and don't even listen to that shit. So anyway, all in all, I gave Superman an A, gave it a 9 out of 10, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I love this movie so much. Replay value is we'll watch this movie repeatedly. Cannot wait for my wife to see this movie. I went and saw it without her. I actually saw most of the movies this month with my buddy Brandon. So anyway, I've been telling her, hey, we should go see it in theater. She's like, no, I don't want to see it in theater. I don't even know if I want to see it at home. I'm like, no, trust me, you got to see this. So anyway, I wasn't, I want to see it again in theater. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see it. It's worth it to watch it. So if you're watching this August 2025. Superman is still in theater right now. It's August 4th today right now. Go see it while it's still there because it's probably going to leave. It's July 11th, so it's probably going to leave theater toward the end of the month. All right, so getting to our next movie. Oh, and let me rewind. Sorry. Jimmy, the guy who played Jimmy, and Perry White, all great actors as well. Jimmy shined in this movie as well. I feel like they utilized Jimmy a little bit more in this movie than they have in other entities aside from Smallville, but he was very much Jimmy. So again, every character in that movie was perfect. They were great. I just realized I didn't really go through the plot much, but that's okay. All right, our next movie. Okay, this one I've been wanting to talk about. So, this is one that I have a personal interest in. I had a personal interest in. I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025. Now, this is a complicated one because the trailers did not help itself. It did not feel like it. I know going into this movie, like it was one of those must see, had to do it, wasn't again too excited about it because it just looked very Gen Z or Gen Alpha. If a lot of the movies today are kind of like this, like a lot of the newer ones where you could feel a big generational gap. And let me roll that comment back. Not all of them are like that, but you can always kind of tell when it's going to be very Gen Z. And it's hard because you want this movie to be good. This is a legacy sequel. The third film in this franchise called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. I did not see it. Heard it was garbage. Heard that Ben Willis's ghost comes back in it. I'm like, the fuck. And then there was a TV series, I think, that went for 1 or 2 seasons that didn't last. So, all in all, this franchise hasn't been good or even relevant since I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And it's a rough one because I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, I never saw I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but I only saw I Know What You Did Last Summer." It's like, watch fucking I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. That one, I'm going to tell you right now, I might be in the minority of this. I liked I Still Know What You Did Last Summer better than I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's just more enjoyable to me. I don't know. Yes, the first one has Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. I love her. Massive Buffy fan. Buffy is one of my pop culture religions where I can seriously sit there and talk about the Buffy universe for hours. So I love Sarah, but I knew going into this that I wanted to see Jennifer Love Hewitt, I wanted to see Freddie Prinze Jr., and I wanted to see Brandy Norwood coming back in this movie because they are the ones that survived I Still Know. So let's get into it. So this movie starts out with like the main girl who you think is going to be the main girl, who you think is going to be the new Jennifer Love Hewitt, getting home from somewhere, and she's got to go to her friend's engagement party where she's going to see her ex. And so they get to the party and everything, and they're all kind of the characters are kind of coming together, right? So you've got the main girl, you've got her friend who's the one that's getting engaged. She's like the new Sarah Michelle Gellar character, the new I can't fucking remember her name. I'm horrible with names tonight. And then you've got the guy she's getting engaged, or she's engaged to and she's gonna marry. He's like the Ryan Philippe character. And then you've got like the new Ray, who was Freddie Prinze Jr., and he was her ex, and that's the one she was worried about seeing and shit. And so and then they've got this other friend, Stevie. Okay, Stevie's just like a fifth. Like, I don't know, she doesn't really resonate. There was no like character of her technically back in the I Know What You Did Last Summer's movies. Like, there wasn't one of her. And so basically what happens is the 5 of them after this party. Now here's where this movie turns into bullshit, and it's right in the beginning. And I am very surprised that this is how they were able to write this, because I was literally like, what the fuck, through the whole thing. So in the original one, if you don't remember, they're clearly drinking. They're going nuts. Woohoo. Ryan Philippe's hanging out the fucking sunroof, and they go and they hit a guy, Ben Willis, and they take his body and they dump him in the ocean or the river or whatever, thinking that I think it's the ocean. They take him to the ocean. Yeah, it's the ocean. They take him to the ocean and dump him off into the harbor at Southport, whatever, and they leave him for dead. And they think they've killed him, but they make a pact to never talk about it. And obviously, Ben Willis comes back and attacks them for the next two movies. This one didn't even warrant any of that bullshit. So the five of them are on like this like cliff. It's like a street up on like a cliff, right? And they're hanging out they got their car parked and they're watching the fireworks. Well, the new Barry or whatever, the new Ryan Phillippe, he's kind of like woohoo, like, just being stupid in like the middle of the road. Well, they pull him back into the lane that they're in. Now, yeah, they are kind of parked halfway and they're parked like on like a corner around the cliff. So I get why the guy got into an accident. So basically there's a guy that comes up, their car's here. The guy like sees them, fucking veers off, and then his truck gets stuck going over the cliff. But here's the thing. The teens didn't push the damn truck over. They didn't hit him. He avoided hitting them. And then fucking they try to save him. They try to save the guy from falling over the cliff. Like, they tried everything they could. They tried to open the truck. They tried like beating down the window, and then like I think the guy inside actually punches through the window, and they still didn't have time to get him out. So he goes over the cliff. All they had to do was tell the cops, "Hey, this guy came around the corner, tried to hit us, and he didn't, whatever." But they've made this like point that the cops in Southport are shit, apparently. So basically, the problem in this movie, like the underlying problem or something, is that the cops suck in this movie, and they've turned like Julian Ray's experience with Ben Willis into like a joke, or the city has forgotten about him or something. I don't know, but it's 1 year later, and the main girl, who's like the new Sarah Michelle Gellar, they kind of make her more the main character than they do like the new quote unquote Julie James. They make her more the new character, so so they focus more on her ish. So it's a year later, and she is having another engagement party. You're like, what the fuck? She just had one. You realize that she and the new Barry didn't work out. And Barry, the new Barry, I saw him the new because I don't remember their names. The guy is on a boat, living on a boat, drinking and like crazy. And one of them gets a note. It says, "I know what you did last summer," of course. So right off the jump, the new killer kills like the new fiance and shit, and they're trying to figure everything out. Goes through the entire movie. They try to go to Julie James for help. Julie James doesn't want to come back. She wants to stay gone. She's a teacher somewhere. Now Ray still lives in town, and Ray, like they're having like a town hall meeting, and Ray stands up and says, "The cops in this town suck," and it's like, "This has happened before. You guys just want to ignore it." This and that shit, It's like, oh, it's Ray. Ray's back, And again, we're still kind of at this point of like, how much are the legacy characters going to be involved in this? Because it's like Ray has only been in the scene, and then we get Julie James. She's not even in the city. So it's like, how the fuck are they involved? Well, when they're kind of doing like, they're investigating for the killer and stuff. Now, Stevie, you see, works for Ray. She like is one of his employees and stuff. And that's important later. So, yeah, so it kind of, and people are dying left and right or whatever. There is like a cool little like dream sequence where like the girl who's like the Sarah Michelle Gellar character, she has a dream about Sarah Michelle Gellar, like, which was a cool way to put Sarah in it. But she was like the whatever queen, like I don't want to say homecoming, but like the town queen or whatever, and she dreams about her, and then she like turns into a skeleton. It's a cool scene. It for that part of it, it fit for her being in it. So, but so getting to like the climax of the end, the two girls who are still alive now, in their generation, the new Ray character is the first big guy. He dies. Like, he dies first. He gets killed at his house. Which, by the way, people have, like, these people are so fucking rich that they have automatic doors and elevators and shit in their house. Like, it's just insane. Like, I get it. You know, I'm friends with some people that are quite upscale and they still have stairs and regular doors. But I don't know. Anyway, it just was kind of really neat. But, you know, I was like, damn, I wish I could have kind of fucking doors. That'd be sick. I was looking at my friend Candace. I was like, yo, man, we got to get ourselves some doors. What the fuck, bro? Now, uh, yeah, so we gotta, you get to the end of it, and so basically the two girls, now both guys are dead at this point. They kill off the new Barry and the new Ray or whatever. The two girls are going out on a boat to try to find their friend. Now, there's a really weird moment between Stevie and Ray, and I'll get to why, because they're at Ray's bar, and Stevie is like frantically calling her friends on the phone. Are you guys safe? Are you okay? Why isn't anybody fucking answering me? This and that, and blah blah blah. And Ray comes out of the restaurant or the bar, and he's like, Stevie, I told your dad I would do everything to protect you, and I meant that. And this was a really weird conversation, and I'll get to why in a second. So, fucking the two girls are out on a boat, like they're taking a boat out somewhere, thinking that they're gonna find the killer as well. So then a killer in a slicker, so you know it's the fisherman still. The slicker, the fisherman killer, comes out of, you know, he's on the boat with them, and you see the killer's wearing Converse shoes, and it's all of a sudden a very short person, and they end up taking the slicker or the hat off, and Stevie is the killer, and it's like, what the fuck, bro? No way. Like, there's no way Stevie's fucking doing all this shit. Like, why the fuck is Stevie doing this shit? She was like one of their friends that was with them when this happened. Well, so it turns out that the guy in the car who goes over was a boyfriend of hers at church or something. And, like, again, I don't know how her friends didn't know she was with this guy, but whatever, I guess. And, so I don't know, like, there's the guy at the church, like the pastor or something, they end up killing him and or whatever. And so, they're all really upset or whatever. She's upset and whatever. And so they, are on the boat. I think they kill Stevie, or they think they kill Stevie. No, they don't. They say at the end she's in jail or something. So, but they get to the bar and they're like, Stevie couldn't have done all this and that or whatever. And then it is revealed, like, Julie realizes at the same time that, now again, huge spoiler if you guys have not seen these movies, like, I don't want anybody bitching to me. So I told you I was going to talk about this in full spoiler effect. So Ray ends up being the other killer. Now, this is very risky to do in a horror movie. Let me get through this. So it turns out that Ray and Julie were married and divorced. Didn't work out. And Ray's motive, though, he says, you know, this town doesn't remember. I had to make them remember what happened to us. And then so he starts killing, you know, as the fisherman. It's an okay motive, I guess. But here's the thing. I'm a big Eli Craig fan. I love when he flips the tropes. I love when it's not, you know, what you think it is. And in horror movies, it's very rare that a victim becomes a killer. It's only ever really happened in two other movies that I can think of. Saw, Amanda becomes one of, actually maybe three. So both Amanda and Gordon become Jigsaw's apprentices and helps him with the other killings. And then in My Bloody Valentine 2009, the reboot for that, Jensen Ackles' character is very mentally ill. And you find out at the end that he's been seeing a killer, but he was actually the killer. Like, it was revealed that he was the killer. So it's very much a risky thing to do, because taking a victim, because we all tend to love the victims and the killers in their own way, right? You know, Jason Voorhees gets praise for, you know, how cool he looks, and Freddy for being funny, and Ghostface is just this fucking awesome, like, character all in black and whatnot. And so we tend to really like the killers and their masks, and like they're a character killer, even Art the Clown, or even Jigsaw himself. We in slashers, it's always just a fun. It's fun to side with the killer, but you also sympathize with the survivors, right? So, in a lot of horror movies, we kind of are like, oh, they're gonna die funny, or they're gonna die epically. But then it's like you do have sympathy for the survivor. You want to see a final girl. You want to even that rarity of seeing a final guy or final boy, however you pronounce it. I say final guy. That's what my license plate tag is, my custom plate. Which in a horror movie, I don't think my fat ass would survive. I'd probably be one of the first to die. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, it's risky though. So it's risky because people love Ray. People love, and I think here this is the big issue. So a lot of people saw what happened in this new I Know What You Did Last Summer, and they were like, what the fuck? Ray is not the killer. That's bullshit. Here's my theory on it. I feel like it both works and doesn't work at the same time. So here's why I think it does work. Where the people that are bitching about Ray being the killer, here's the thing. Ray, the character of Ray, if you go back and watch the first two I Know What You Did Last Summers that he's in, Ray is always kind of outside of the group, right? So he is, always kind of doing his own thing. He's working on the Fisher boat and isn't really giving into like the trauma that both Sarah Michelle Gellar and Jennifer Love Hewitt's characters go through. Even Ryan Phillippe, who was like angry about it and shit. Like, and Ray, left and all the stuff, and, they were dating, and, but they weren't dating, and then, they weren't dating for a year and such. And so then, like, when all the shit went down, started happening, they kind of bring him back into it. But even in the first one, he was still outside of it. He was still working on the boat. He was still doing a bunch of shit with his buddy. And then in the second one, he's even further disconnected to it. Like, yeah, they're together-ish, like, they're, like, dating long distance, I think, is what it seems like, yeah. And then, because, she goes off to college, and he's still working on the boat, this and that. And then she's wanting him to go to the Bahamas with him or whatnot, and he's like, no, why do I have to go, blah, blah. And then he's like, he realizes that Ben Willis is after her. So the entire fucking movie, he's, like, trying to save her, but he's not on the island with all of them getting traumatized and fucked up. Like, he comes in at the end of it and saves the day. So it works and it doesn't work in the sense that Ray is more of an expendable character that you can make a killer. I think the reason why people were so upset is because we as a society love Freddie Prinze Jr. as a whole. I mean, you look at him in Down to You and in Scooby-Doo and in She's All That. He's kind of like this really sweet, charming guy. He's been married to Sarah Michelle Gellar. They've got kids. He's not like this Hollywood player. He's like this very Hollywood sweetheart. And so I think a lot of people are putting their real feelings about Freddie into Ray, and they're upset that they killed Ray off. However, it also doesn't work for Ray being the killer because of what I just said. Ray is so outside of it that he is, Ray is outside of it because he didn't go through like half the trauma that the other three did or the other people did. So it's kind of almost bogus to have him being the killer because of that reason. But I still say I like it because, again, the reality is we don't see a lot of victims become killers and slashers. And so I thought it worked. Plus, we're in reboot generation right now. We're in requel generation right now. Everything's requeling. So we've had Halloween, Alien. All of these franchises are staying alive by their requels, right? Where there's a younger Chucky, even the Chucky series is a requel. We've got characters that they're new characters, but they're kind of being carried by legacy characters, but then they're also mixed, a good mix together, because it's like it's passing it on to the generation and or being a part of the generation. And it's like for horror fans especially, or even for any movie fans, it's nice because people like in my age or like 10 years older, they have, I don't have kids, but they have kids. I have a nephew. I love talking about this shit with my nephew because he's 13. He's coherent now. He's huge into horror. He has been since he was like 8 years old. And so it's been really cool be like, hey, dude, did you watch this old one? Or are you going to watch this new one? Blah, blah, blah. So I feel like it works because, like Ray becoming the killer it was risky because it, um, it can kill your franchise. And they really had, but at the same time, it could also elevate it too, because I really feel like I Know What You Did Last Summer had to do something that Scream didn't. Scream 5 came in and, they had, it was the daughter of a killer, but now she's the good guy. And, she's like the main final girl. She's like the Sydney adjacent. I'm not going to say replacement because obviously, we know what happened with Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega not coming back. And hopefully, one day they'll work that out. But the focus is still kind of on Sydney. But, they had to up their game, and they did that quite a bit. Like the 6th one, Scream 6, they had 3 killers and they had a 2-killer kill. And actually, I'm sorry, Scream 6, they had 4 killers. Fuck you if you say any different. No, I'm just kidding. But they had Jason in the beginning. I still consider him one of the killers. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is people don't consider Jason in the beginning of the movie a killer, and I do, because he put on the suit, made a phone call, used the Ghostface ghost changer, killed somebody as Ghostface, and whether or not he was one of the killers and got killed by another killer, well, they all kill each other anyway. So I still consider Jason one of the Scream 6 killers. So, but anyway, the core 3 killers, it was, there was a family of killers, and 2 of them, like, that was side note, that was a moment for me in theater. And they showed 2 of the killers in the suits. They're all stabbing Chad. I was like, at the same time, and they both did the knife wipe. I was like, fuck, finally. I've been wanting to see a double killer kill, man. Like, and even though they didn't kill him, it was still cool to see the action. Anyway, see how sick I am? See? You see? That's why I call it basic bitch horror, because it's like, I feel like the ones who will watch movies like Drop and Dangerous Animals, they wouldn't be able to take that. But again, it's all jokes and fun. I'm not trying to insult anybody, I promise. So anyway, and then the tag at the end of I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025, the post credit scene, if you will, shows Julie James going to Brandy's house. We get a little end of the credits family little reunion there, and Brandy's like, so who we fucking up this time? And it's like, okay. So the movie as a whole was harder for me because I was like, man, I wanted this to be good. So here's what I think. I really think they should have utilized Julie more. I still think they probably could have made Ray the killer, even though people didn't like it. That's the thing. Ray and Stevie were both the killers, right? So they were working together. So that's why I was saying the scene earlier didn't work, because their conversation was very weird. Like, how the fuck are they like having this conversation when it's like they were acting like it was kind of like an audience thing. Whereas, like, going back and watching it a second time, it's like, why the fuck are they talking to each other like this when they're both the killer and they both know it? This makes no sense. But anyway, so with that being said, I would have probably put a little bit more emphasis on the legacy, because they went too far with these characters. And again, the accident at the beginning was garbage. Like, I'm sorry, that was a horseshit, a deal breaker. That would not have happened. Like, the movie would not have played out like this in real life. And I know we watch fictional things, but it's got to make sense. Your fiction has to make sense in order for it to be a decent fucking story. And that didn't make any sense. I don't care what universe you're in. That accident would not have caused this massive fucking killing spree. I'm sorry, but just wouldn't. Maybe Ray took it as a thing, but the other thing too is, like, maybe it wasn't just Ray wanting the cops to remember, or the people of the town to remember. Maybe he was also still, like, aggressive from his divorce. Maybe he's still really bummed out that didn't work out. I would be bummed out if I got divorced from Jennifer Love Hewitt too. She is the most beautiful woman in Hollywood, always will be. Love you, Jennifer. My wife knows that I think that. But anyway, but the problem with that then is, if you've got to speak, if you've got to make excuses for what you saw on screen, for what you didn't see on screen, and you're trying to make the story up, and you're basically writing the story for the movie, it wasn't a good story to begin with. I'm sorry, it just wasn't. Like, having to guess if that's why Ray was the killer, I'm sorry, that just wasn't, it didn't make any sense to me. So that being said, I gave this movie a C, riding on a C minus, 6.5 out of 10, and 2.5 stars, maybe 2 stars. I didn't like it. It was okay. Like, it was fine. Like, it just, replay value, I'm going to go with, I'm neutral on. it will probably be a franchise watch if I watch the three. I know what you last summer. I still know what you did in this one, so I am neutral, leaning toward likely to watching again because we do watch that movie usually on 4th of July. It's a 4th of July movie. So I'm likely to watch it again. So I'm gonna go likely on that one. Likely to watch it again. So enough on I Know What You Last Summer. Oh no, you know what? I have one more thing. So one thing I did do now. Now I've been doing a lot of the popcorn buckets lately, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'll be able to show you. One thing I did buy. Now the popcorn bucket for this movie sucked ass. It was like a tackle box that has Southport on it, and it had pictures lined on the inside of it like it was supposed to be something you'd find in a tackle box. I did not want that. Now, however, I did get the collectible cup. Let me grab it. So the biggest reason why I wanted to get the cup was it had a little figurine of the fisherman on it. They have made pretty much little to no merch for I Know What You Did Last Summer. And me, I'm a big action figure collector, big statue collector, whatever. And it was neat that they had a little cup buddy, and he wasn't like sitting in a popcorn chair like the Megan one, or a movie theater chair like Megan. It's literally just a little tiny, like 3.5, maybe even 3-inch figure of the fisherman. So I got the cup. And it's really neat because if it's hard to see, but it says on the window, I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then on this side, it has the fisherman and the straw. So basically in my little collection here around the office, I'm going to display it like this. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast, you can't see this, but, so I did, get that little collectible from it. And the way I justify it is, well, it's got the fisherman on it. It's got the I Know What You Did Last Summer, like logo in the window. One of the logos anyway. And it's like, well, that could mean anything. That could just be a franchise thing. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to get the cup. It's only $12. Why the fuck not? So set that right over there. All right. The next movie that I watched for the summer was Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four was pretty decent. I saw this movie with a friend of mine. I wasn't necessarily excited for it. I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen all of the most recent MCU movies, nor the DCEU movies. I never watched Birds of Prey. I never watched Multiverse of Madness or Multitude of Madness, whatever it's called. There were some that I just missed, and so I'm like, Fantastic Four. I'm like, I never saw the 2015 version, so I'm like, I like the old one, but it's all right. But I could have gone either way on it. But again, Superman kind of took me out of the superhero fatigue, and it got me a little bit more interested in it. This movie was decent. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was okay. Like I said, it had a quality in it that I wanted to see in Superman, and that was we still got to see the accent at the beginning. We still got to see, a little bit. It was only a little bit. It was maybe they took like 2 to 5 minutes to show you that. But then this was a later on story after that. We finally get to see Galactus in his truest form. That was fucking crazy. That was awesome. Basically, this movie, though, the tone of the movie felt like I was on an Epcot ride or I was in Tomorrowland. Like my friend Brandon Whitmore, Brandon and I looked at each other and I was like, I just really felt like I was in like an Epcot setting or like Tomorrowland. He's like, yeah, it felt like Tomorrowland. Because it's very 50s and 60s style, but it's like futuristic. Like they can it's so weird. Like they've got like CRT monitors that can do a bunch of shit. They've got like, they go to space in like this crazy advanced like spacecraft. But again, they're all dressed like they're in the 50s, like the 50s era, like the 1950s. And right off the bat, man, Sue Storm, Vanessa Kirby is the MVP of this movie. I mean, she just, I loved her in Hobbs and Shaw. She got to work with my buddy John Toohey, and she was okay in that one. She wasn't great. She was just okay. This one, man, she was like a badass. She just fucked up the screen whenever she was in it in a good way. I mean, that was a powerful, strong, amazing woman. Like she was the leader of that team. And there was no pandering there. Like I want you to know that, because a lot of times in these movies, like, they'll pander, like, they're like, I am woman and look at me being a woman. And, they're just very obvious about it. Or, I am gay and, look at me being gay. You know what I mean? Like you see this in movies a lot, and it's like, okay, you're kind of, you're not telling it necessarily a good story. You're just, um, you're wanting to kind of push an agenda. And I want to, again, I want to really, elaborate on the fact that I don't have a problem with that, but if it takes away from writing the story, then it's a problem where, it's got to be an equal balance. There's got to be a good story behind that setting. But, for me, in this, she was a badass all on her own. Like, she didn't have to, there wasn't anything out of the norm, for her. Like, they didn't make the other, men seem inferior to her. She was just a strong badass on her own. Now Reed Richards, Pedro Pascal, they went a really interesting route with him. I felt like he was very skittish, very nervous, very, fidgety, and very, and I'm like, okay, I see a little bit of Reed Richards in there on that, and he's kind of got the look for it. And, who doesn't like Pedro Pascal? But I would have almost rather seen somebody else in the role, but at the same time, I didn't hate it at the same time. So he did a pretty decent job as Mr. Fantastic. Uh, Johnny Storm was amazing. He was pretty good. He felt like Johnny to me. Very quirky, very flirty, very funny, very awesome. This was probably my favorite iteration of the Thing as well. I liked the fact that he wasn't making himself a victim. He was embracing, being the Thing, and they didn't really talk about like his struggles with being the Thing, or they didn't show him wanting to be human again like they did in the past. And like whether or not he could turn it on or off or whatnot. And, and that story was fine too. I didn't mind that, but this Thing, he was really embracing himself. Like it was fun to see him put on clothes. It was fun to see him put on a trench coat and a hat and go out and talk to a girl. And, Natasha Lyonne's character, they were flirty and they were cute. And I really wanted to see that love story grow. Hopefully we'll see that more maybe in Avengers. I know Avengers is going to be packed full of people, but I think that would be really neat to see. And then, them having a baby, I thought was a good story. And, the little robot guy, I can't remember his name, all very cute. Silver Surfer, the woman playing her, she was fantastic. They basically made it just like another Silver Surfer story. I know a lot of people were concerned at first. They're like, oh, they've got a woman playing Silver Surfer, boo. It didn't bother me. It didn't take me out of the story. I thought it was a good casting choice. That was a good character. Showing her origins, and how sad she was, and how she was doing a lot of this against her will. I felt like they did a really good job with it. So, not a lot of replay value in this for me, I don't think, but I gave this movie a B, B minus. A B minus, I think it's fair. Maybe even a C plus. It was a good story. It was decent. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's still pretty where I'm at with it. And then I give it probably 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I thought it was pretty good. Replay value, I'm neutral. I could watch it again, or I could not be, like I'm not one of those guys that has to rewatch every MCU movie in order to watch a new MCU movie. I might do a couple of Avengers movies for the next Avengers films. And I may do, the Spider-Mans for the next Spider-Man movies, because I love Spider-Man. I do love the movies. I don't love crazy. I'm not crazy about comic book superheroes anymore, but, I used to be a huge DC fan. I used to have a bunch of, like, a lot of figurines you see here. I used to have a lot of DC stuff. I had a whole display case full of it. So, but these days, superheroes I could take or leave these days. Like we just watched The Boys and, went through that series. That was decent, but, not my favorite. So, the next flick I want to talk about, okay, so the next movie I want to talk about, Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore 2. Now, this is where I feel like I'm probably going to be in the wrong about this, or not. I'm going to be, my opinion is going to be vastly different than everybody else's. I got to be honest with you guys, I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. I wanted to like it. I was really excited for it. I watched the first one right beforehand, before watching this, and I watched this, and so basically this movie is about his wife, Julie Bowen, dies. It kind of shows him getting to the top of like the PGA Golf Tour. He's won 5 or 6 gold jackets. But then he hits a ball a certain way and he ends up killing his wife. And right off the bat, I was like, oh, so this is going to be more sad Gilmore than Happy Gilmore. Okay. Uh, I don't know, man. Like the watching him fall and watching, him fall from grace and his wife dying and him becoming depressed. For it to then, and they've had kids and such, for it to then turn into what it turned into, I just felt like I was watching 2 different films. Like the Maxie stuff and then the stuff with his wife dying, they just felt like 2 plots that are like really unevenly glued together. Kind of like the end of the Superman where he was telling Terrific, like, hey buddy, your crack's off there. Like you're, like it shows him putting the city back together and shit. And he's like, you're not online or you're not in line there. And he's like, ah, fuck, that's what this felt like to me. Like it felt like 2 very mixed stories. And everybody's like, but bro, the nostalgia of it, all the people, this and that. I'm like, I gotta tell you guys, I saw more nostalgic characters in Grown Ups than I did this one. That's me. But here's the thing, like, look, I'm not looking for an Oscar-winning performance to come to an Adam Sandler movie. I love Adam Sandler movies. Big Sandler fan, like more than my wife, more than a lot of people that I know. I loved That's My Boy. I love Grown Ups. I love even some of his shittier ones. Like I thought they were funny. Like I still found humor in them. This one, I'm just like, it's like, it didn't try too hard necessarily, but it just was like very depressing. For one thing, the biggest problem that I had with this movie was the fact that the way that they showed you like the flashbacks and who the characters were supposed to be, I felt like that was very choppy. That was very, like, people who are a fan of Happy Gilmore and are watching this film are either they have watched the first one as a refresher already, or they know Happy Gilmore enough to not have to need what they put into the film for like the oh hey, it's like Eminem, for example. Like Eminem's cameo was hilarious. And then they show the jackass guy before him, like, yeah, it's his dad. And it's like, okay, but I got that he was supposed to be the jackass guy. I didn't necessarily need to see a clip of the jackass. I mean, they show clip after clip after clip, like of people that they were referencing and shit. And I'm just like, okay, guys, we've all seen Happy Gilmore. I didn't need to see clips of this to understand that, oh, this is what the second one's basing it off. So, I don't know. And then here's the thing. I don't like having to do homework for my movies either. I really don't. Like, if I'm going to go back and watch shit, yeah, cool. Like, I know what you did last summer. I watched the first 2 before watching it. The first Happy Gilmore I watched before watching Happy Gilmore 2. Now, what I didn't know that I was getting into was that they were making fun of some golf league. And again, I know golfers are probably watching me talk. Like my best friend Alex, he golfs, and Chris, he golfs and stuff. And he's like, you're dumb. I'm probably sure they're probably mouthing like, you're a dumbass. You just don't know what's going on in golf right now. That's true. I don't. But here's the thing. Who's watching this? Is it golf fans, Happy Gilmore fans, or both? I kind of felt like the Maxie shit, like they alienated half of the people that were watching this movie because they didn't know what was going on in real life golf. I don't necessarily have to watch a shitload of hockey games before I'm going to watch Mighty Ducks. I already know what I'm watching when it comes to Mighty Ducks. I didn't have to watch a bunch of like the history of the Mighty Ducks team to watch the Mighty Ducks Game Changers TV show that came out a couple years ago. I just needed to watch the 3 movies that were out because, hey, those were my sports characters when I was a kid, the fictional sports characters. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, I didn't even know that this was happening in real golf for me to then not understand what this is going on. It just looks like they were trying to turn golf into like a mega putt-putt course, like they're doing crazy shit, like, with the thing. Now, the challenge, you had to like stand in the thing and it was like wobbly at the end. You had to shoot you had to get the ball in the hole and make par or whatnot. And like in real life, that would have been kind of dope. I wouldn't mind doing that like at a putt-putt thing, but I didn't realize that was something that's going on in golf. And again, this is where I come into the fact that I don't like the fact that I have to do homework in order to know what the fuck's going on. Cause I would not have done that. If someone said to me like, hey, if you're going to watch Happy Gilmore 2, check out what's going on in real life golf right now for you to understand this. I'd be like, I have to know that to understand this. I'm out. Like, So that was the biggest issue for me. That and just I don't know, I didn't laugh. Like I you know, and I'm a laugher. Like people are annoyed with me at how much I laugh at shit. Like I'll laugh at stuff when other people don't laugh at it. And I think I maybe laughed 3 times at this movie. I don't know why. The usual Adam Sandler laughs weren't there for me. So again, it's a bummer that, I here's the thing. I'm glad so many people like this movie. For me, it didn't work. I didn't like it. I gave it a D. I gave it a D for my rating, for my letter grade. Gave it about a 5 out of 10 and 2 stars. But again, that's the thing about pop culture. That's the thing about art. We can agree to disagree. We can like things that we like and hate, and not like the things that other people like. And I'm going to chalk it up to that. So unfortunately, again, it didn't work for me, but I'm glad it worked for folks that are a fan of Sandler and Happy Gilmore, which I am. But it didn't work for me, unfortunately. So, now, that's all I have for July movies, but before we go, I did want to talk about the first film I did see in August 1st, which was Naked Gun. Yeah, The Naked Gun 2025. I cannot leave here today without talking about this movie because holy shit, this movie was so funny. I gave So this movie is about Frank Drebin Jr. He plays Leslie Nielsen's son in this. Obviously, we lost Leslie Nielsen about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. And so it's a bummer that we don't even have Leslie Nielsen around anymore because I really feel like he is just this underrated comedic actor who did not get the. And I know he was very famous. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I do think he was, but like he was never Robin Williams status or like Jim Carrey status, and he might have been, but he wasn't the one that people were always talking about. And I really feel like he could have been that had been around maybe 10 more years. But again, Leslie Nielsen's still amazing. Now, Liam Neeson was amazing as his son. So, I did not expect to laugh as hard as I did. And I don't think I've laughed that hard at a comedy movie since 2014 when 22 Jump Street was out. I loved that movie so much, and I have been dying for a comedy that was like this for years. Like the comedy movie, I feel like is the that we know anyway. They're dead. Like you don't have a Super Bad anymore. You don't have Pineapple Express. You don't have a Dumb and Dumber. Like these movies aren't coming out anymore. The last thing I saw that was close, I felt like was that what was that fucking movie? Oh, you know what? Neighbors was pretty funny, but that was newer. But there was that. I mean, even that was more of like I related to that one because it was, they played a married couple with a newborn moving in next to a frat house. I related to that because I'm almost 40. I'm almost 39, and my wife and I, we don't have kids, but I have become that get the fuck off my lawn type of old man. So, I related to that, but I related to that more as an old man to whereas, I'm not laughing as hard as I would, at like a Superbad or a 21 Jump Street, And so anyway, getting back to this movie, there were lines in this movie where I was just dying laughing. I mean, the line that sent me over to the top, which don't listen to this if you haven't seen it yet, see this movie first and then come back and listen to me talk about this, or fast forward through me talking about this one. I'm going to say a line from the movie that had me dying for like 10 fucking minutes. And it was one of the inner monologue movies that inner monologue scenes that you see like in like an older, like, she knew who I was. She knew it. I knew where she was. Like her long blonde hair waved in the distance, and her dress was a beautiful shade of red. And blah blah. Shit like that. Like it's like an inner monologue of like your opinion on a hot girl. Fucking Liam Neeson was talking about Pam Anderson, and the line he said that sent me fucking into a fucking coma, laughing almost so hard was he said she had the bottom. that would make any toilet beg for the brown. Dude, beg. She had a bottom that would make any toilet beg for the brown. The fact that those words were said in a sentence, I fucking lost it in the theater. I was like holding my mouth shut. I was laughing so hard I could not believe that line was said. And just the coffee cups being handed back and forth, and the fucking the threesome with the snowman, I was falling out of my chair laughing at. And it was your kind of same old regular Naked Gun movie. It had the spirit of the old ones. It didn't pervert them at all. It's definitely not your daddy's Naked Gun, but it definitely feels like a Naked Gun, and it definitely held to that uh standard that a Naked Gun would. And I think Leslie Nielsen would have really enjoyed it and really approved of it. So seriously, guys, if you're watching this at the beginning of August 2025, or if you're watching this 2-3 years down the road and haven't seen it, fucking watch it. It is so damn funny. It is so fucking stupid in the sense that it was supposed to be that way. The Naked Gun movies are dumb as shit, and they're supposed to, and so is this. So that about wraps it up for me today, you guys. I just wanted to talk about the movies that have come out recently and a few others. So again, this is not necessarily going to be a movie review show. We are going to get deep and talk about other things, and we're going to talk to guests like John Toohey and such, here in studio. But at the same time, I'm also going to kind of just lament about movies I've watched or TV series, or, like we're watching Perfect Match right now. It's a reality show. The two reality shows that I get into are Perfect Match and Love is Blind. Sorry, I do. And, I think the biggest reason why I like those is they don't have a censor. I cannot stand that beep, 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 when you're watching a movie or watching a show. And, so I think that's why I can get into those. And it also kind of makes me feel like a therapist when I'm watching. Like I'll sit there and be like, oh, they should be doing this or they should do that, blah, 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 blah. So at some point I'll talk about Perfect Match season 3. It's not as good as the other ones, but it's still fine. So again, this podcast is really going to be something that's a variety. And if you don't listen to every episode, I'm not going to be offended. I'm really not. It's just my views and opinions. And again, I'm all about love here. I want everyone to feel loved, feel welcomed, feel seen. And dude, I love you guys out there. And thanks for being real with me.
It's all going down.